hello everyone, welcome back to my tutorial of Big Data, the world of big values. In this tutorials, we are discussing about big data ecosystems and its related terms. So in the previous video, we discussed about NoSQL and different types of the NoSQLs. In this video, we are going to discuss about NoSQL versus SQL. So let's start. So my motto of this tutorial is to provide you a basic idea that how SQL and the NoSQL is completely differ with each other in the some scenarios. So the first thing is like what is the model of NoSQL is achieving and what type of model is SQL achieving. So SQL is achieving a relational type of model. It means they are handled a structured type of the data, a structured value of the data. Okay, but in the case of NoSQL, they are using non-relational conditions. Okay, that is the storing data in the form of JSON document or the key value pairs or wide column storage or as the graph, which we discussed previous, that what is the meaning of key value document and what is the meaning of column oriented document and what is the meaning of column graph database. So I hope you are understanding it. If you're not understanding that what is the meaning of key value pair, wide column store and the graph database, so please go back to my watching my previous video. The link is into the description box. Okay, so the next point which makes a difference between SQL and NoSQL is the data condition. So in the SQL, it is the great for solution where every record has the some properties like we can do with the data type conditions. Okay, but in the case of NoSQL, it's offer flexibility as not every record needs to store the same properties. Okay, in SQL, adding a new property may require altering schema and the backfilling data. As you know that SQL having a great number of UI interfaces and tools, so we can use it. But in the case of NoSQL, new properties can be added on the fly. Means we have to think very well about the NoSQL database creation at the time. In SQL, the relationship are often captured in the normalized model using joins to resolve references across table. It means it comes with the normalized condition, means completely start to remove duplicates of the data. But in the case of NoSQL, it is completely working on the denormalized data and presenting all data for an object into the single record. For that condition, SQL is good for structured data, but NoSQL is good for semi-structured, complex, and the nested data. So the next point which makes a difference between SQL and the NoSQL is the schema. So SQL is for strict schema, but NoSQL is for dynamic or flexible schema. SQL schema must be maintained and kept into the synchronized between application database, but in NoSQL, database is a schema agnostic and the schema is dictated by the application. This allows for agility and high iterative deployment. In the case of transaction, SQL supports AC transaction, but NoSQL is not supporting completely AC transaction. They are supporting as per the solution which we are going to use in the next time. And in the case of different use cases, in the case of consistent and availability, SQL do strong consistency enforced and consistency is prioritized over availability and performance. But in the case of NoSQL, eventually to a strong consistency is supported depending upon the solution, and the consistency, availability and the performance can be traded to meet need of the application as into the cap theorem. And about the cap theorem we will discuss later. In short, we can understand about the cap theorem. It means the NoSQL is strongly supported two properties at the one time, like either consistency and availability at one time, or availability and performance at the one time, or partition at the one time, or consistency and partitioning at the one time. So it's actually depends upon the situation and the scenarios. Okay, in the case of performance, SQL insert and update perform is dependent upon how fast a write is committed. As strong consistency is enforced, performance can be maximized by using scaling up available resources and using in-memory structure. As well as information also talks about an entity may be spread across many tables or the row requiring many joins to complete update query. But in the case of NoSQL, performance can be maximized by reducing consistency if needed. All the information about an entity is typically in a single record, so an update can happen in one operation only. It means we can, in short, we can understand that suppose in the MySQL we are storing a detail about a single field, we have to use it into the different tables. But in the case of NoSQL, all the details are put into the single records and single table. So by using that, updating and setting is quite handy and it is easy on that. Okay, and the last thing we have to understand, and we have to make partition between SQL and NoSQL, is the scale. So scaling is typically achieved vertically with more sourceable resources in the SQL And but in the case of NoSQL, scaling is typically achieved horizontally with data partition to span servers, because in the current scenario the price of hardware commodity is really very cheap compared to the RAM conditions. So NoSQL is basically pay attention on the data replication. They are not thinking about like data is replicated so it will take consuming the spaces. They are free from that. They are just using to make it as much as flexible and fault tolerant to make the database. So I hope you understanding about it in very good manner, and that how SQL and how NoSQL is participated and differentiated from each other. In the next video, we'll discuss about Apache Cassandra, a little bit information about Apache Cassandra and how it is work. And till that, if you didn't subscribe my channel, so please subscribe it, and please comment down if you're having any problem in this video. Thanks.